and welcome back to my channel. This is Alicia Wrights, and today I'm going to set up my daily 2026 planner. I'm also going to talk a little bit about my goals and my 2025 goals that I really frankly didn't hit, but we'll get into that later. This is going to be kind of a multi-part series because I'm only setting up the beginning pages in January. And then basically I'll do a monthly reset where I set up the next month. I also am splitting up my kind of daily / personal planner versus my writing and publishing planner. So that'll be in a separate video, or a separate series actually, because there's going to be multi-parts to that planner. Let's get a drink of coffee. Also, super excited. I don't know if you can really see the side, and I'm not going to tip it because that's not going to end well. Alright, so for my planners this year, I really wanted to try out Archer and Olive. I've never actually tried a full bullet planner attempt. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that for my daily, personal / work / channel planner. And so what I opted to do is I got this one, which is the Archer and Olive B5 Undated Planner in the collection for Songbird, as my daily planner. I have a separate planner. It's actually right here. Archer and Olive letter size storybook in the vintage olive, as my writing publishing planner. So you'll see that in a different book. I have already opened it because I wanted to sketch out and get the pages set up. So that way I wasn't doing that in this video. I'm super excited. This is super pretty. I've never had an Archer and Olive planner before, or journal. I've wanted one for a while now, and I felt like this was a good time to take that plunge. I also picked up from them some stickers, the tea sticker, washi tape, paper pack, tea and coffee. I'm unsure if I'm going to actually use this in this one or any of them, frankly. It's not quite what I thought it was going to be. I don't hate it. I actually do still really like it. But once I started actually planning out the pages and kind of the design of each of them, it doesn't quite fit. So this might be saved for something different. I also am contemplating getting another one, so to have a third one for personal goals. I also picked up the vinyl tabs for this planner, which I will put all these on today, even though we're not going to set up all the spreads.
Spoiler, I did not actually put all those on today.
I also have Bookworm Volume 3. I am super excited to actually use this in this planner. And then assortment of PE tape. And I also have some watercolor markers, which I did already pre-swatch. I also swatched out my alcohol markers, but they ended up actually bleeding. Some of them bled through the paper. So I'm not going to be using those today. All right, so let's get into this. So first off, before I even open this, if you saw my short the other day, you'll know I actually started this video and then my camera fell down. And so I didn't finish anything else out from where that happened. So really the furthest I got was coloring in the border and getting this tape cut to start laying it down. Oh, and I forgot the book I was using for a little. Oh, I want something to put under this to rest. One moment, please. And I'm back. After a quick trek up the stairs to get to my Legends and Lattes book, which is the perfect size to slip right under this and provide a nice sturdy base. All right, so let's get into this.
All right. So, as part of this 2026 reset, I decided to once again reapproach how I use a planner and how I am planning for this year. I have tried monthly planners. I have tried different types of monthly planners, and I make it through a couple months and then they get stuck in a corner and I never end up filling them out. And I think part of that is the approach I was taking to planning. It was a monthly planner, I was trying to organize my time in probably not the most effective way. And I found Joshi Corinne's cyclic planning videos, and I really liked how that was set up. Also, I don't know why I didn't think of doing it that way, because that is exactly how I operate at work. We plan by quarter, and so I am already used to planning my work tasks in a quarterly fashion. I was just like, why didn't I think to apply this at home? And part of that cyclic planning and part of my thought process around goals and how do I set up tracking for goals, and I didn't want this planner to be super weighted down by a lot of the stuff I wanted to track in relation to specific goals. So I decided to split it up. And that's why I'm using this one as a daily planner. There will be some duplication between this and then like my more goal-focused planners. But really, the goal ones I'm only probably going to be touching during a monthly reset. That is my goal, is that I'm using this one primarily, and then those I will update when I do my monthly setups for the next month.
Okay, so this is the year at a glance page. Really all we're doing here is just adding in the headers, and then I'll go back later and fill in important dates.
And so part of the transition from that was because of how badly I did with my 2025 goals. I tried. I did make a conscious effort, and I didn't completely fail all of them. I hit my water goal. I did end up at least finishing the first draft of my novel. And I did read quite a few books over the course of 2025. But my problem for all of these 2025 goals is that I try to fit far too much into one day. It's just not feasible with my schedule, with how busy I am, working a 9-to-5 job, then having children, having to still take care of my house and do house projects, and also just, keep us alive. So that is kind of what spurned this different approach for planning for 2026 and how I'm kind of facing my goals this year. I'm hoping to spread them out over the entire quarter. Some of it still will have like daily tasks, which I'm going to be tracking in this, but my hope is by spreading it out and not making it you have to do this per day. You have to do this time. You have to block this time per day, that I'm able to more effectively accomplish my goals without burning out, without just dropping them completely. So I'm kind of excited for that change.
All right, so for these two spreads, we've got a year in pixels, and this is going to be tracking how often I actually use this planner. my goal is to use this daily. So if we flip forward a little bit, this is kind of how it's set up. So we have these pages that are blank that you can kind of like do with it what you want. Then you have a page for the month. Then you have an overall calendar. And then you have daily pages for each week, along with a little notes column. My goal is to basically use these as to-dos and trackers for each day. So what I'll do is I'll just fill out the night before everything I need to do for that day. The notes side will probably have like more of a weekly, like high level, or I might end up using this more as like my grocery slash like I need to acquire these things. Not quite sure yet. But basically, my year in pixels is going to be, okay, did I actually, like the night before, write down all my notes? Did I actually go through and actually do those things for the day and check them off? That'll be one color. Then I'm going to do another color as like, okay, I looked at the planner. Maybe I did fill it in, maybe I didn't check everything off. But I actually did take a look at it, physically handled it, opened it. And then the next one is just going to be MIP. Basically, I didn't touch it at all. I didn't look at it. I didn't fill it out. Didn't do anything with it that day. So that's this side. This side, I'm actually going to do a content tracker. And then like a little mind dump area for content. My goal here is to kind of plot out each week. My goal is to do one video per week. So for this year. I don't know how attainable that's going to be. A lot of them probably are going to be vlog styles as I'm working through the editing process. But either way, my goal will be to track where I'm at in the progress of that weekly video. So first things first, we got to get everything outlined. Okay. Then let's get these ones done.
Okay. So while I explained what the pages are for, let's take a quick step back. Brainstorming my goals for 2026, what I ended up doing was to kind of bucketing them into 3 categories. Either personal, so stuff I want to accomplish for the betterment of myself, channel goals for this YouTube channel, and then writing/publishing goals. I did this because for me, it was kind of easier to create high-level statements if I had a direct bucket that I knew it was going to impact. Because I came up with like 50 goals, and some of them were too granular. I needed to move them up and put in my project manager hat on here. So let's actually go over the 2026 channel goals. The first one is reach 500 subscribers. My stretch goal after that would be 1,000. My goal is to post 1 long form video a week, and then post 3 shorts a week. I feel like these at a high level are achievable. And then what I'll likely end up doing is using my different trackers and planners to help me meet those goals. So for like the long form video week, you'll see when I finish the tracking spread, I have a little box to check off, have I filmed this? Have I edited it? Have I even come up with an idea? And like a title. I also included like a brain dump area. So that way, if I thought of something like maybe, a bake with me, or, as birthdays roll around, I love to make cakes for my family. Things like that I might include and I had thought of in my brainstorming, but were too granular. I needed to kind of roll those up into a higher level goal. And that's why I'm likely going to get a third planner, because I want to still track some of those granular stuff in a different space.
Okay, since we're just about done with this, I am going to choose the colors I'm coloring it in, and then I'm also going to black out. So I haven't set up the planner until today. So I am going to black out this first chunk of January because I don't want to like give myself negative sad marks for not having set it up yet. So,
And to kind of go back a little bit, by granular stuff, I mean, like, I would love a spread to track subscriber count or, view count or, kind of cool milestones and things like that. That there's just no space in this particular daily planner to do. And the same thing with some of my personal goals. There's a lot of spreads I would like to use that I've seen that I just can't because of space constraints in this. I haven't bought one yet, but I probably should because I definitely think I'm going to need one because I really like to track that sort of thing.
Okay, next. Content tracker. Time to draw more lines. In fact, actually, you know what? We're just going to... So there is my finished content tracker. Looks adorable, and you can't even tell where I messed up as I was doing this. So, on to what is arguably my favorite spread, which is going to be my book tracker. So I split this into two sections. One is just pretty, little library setup, and then one will actually track the books and all the information I want to go with it. I'll go over this in more detail when you guys can actually see it and I'm done with the spreads.
So I am so excited for I just have to like I just have to like boast for a minute because I'm so happy with how this turned out. Like, I know you're not going to see the finished product for like another like couple minutes, but I freehand sketched this before I filled it in, and I included all sorts of like really cute little like me things. So like there's a cat and there's a hootie and there's like a picture of my kids, which you can't really tell who they are because it's a little cartoon drawing. And I love this space so much, and it really flows well with the next subset of goals we're going to talk about, which are my personal goals. So I decided to kind of try to give myself a little bit lighter personal goals this year, just because I'm so focused on like channel goals and writing and publishing goals. I did not want to burn myself out, but I still want to achieve a couple of things. One is I set myself a 50 book goal for this year, which is fine. I know I read over that last year, easy to accomplish. I want to do a complete office and living room area makeover and complete one of the Conquer Challenge each quarter. That's a walking goal. And then I'd like to meal prep. I figured those are fairly easy to start working towards. A lot of them will probably end up happening towards the later part of the year, but that's why I'm trying to plan them out now, because like I can't do an office and living room makeover right now. That's going to require me to like cut and build and paint where I really need the windows open, and I can't do that when it's, -50 and snowing. Not that it's actually that cold out right now, but I'm just, you know what I mean? So by setting those goals for myself for the end of the year, I can then use this first quarter to plan those out. Gather my supply lists, budget, maybe start making baby steps towards them. Reading. We actually, my friends and I are starting a book club this year. So there's at least one book a month that I'm going to be reading. I likely will read more than that because I'm an avid reader. But I'm working to set up the things that I need to be able to effectively complete those. Meal prepping is probably the only one that might be a little bit iffy if I actually hit. Same with the Conquer challenges every quarter. It's a 50-mile walk run per challenge. And I bought a treadmill um, with like a little stand, so that way I could potentially, work and walk. Um, I am definitely one of those people that I love to multitask, or at least I try to. And right now, especially with it being winter, I am just not really able to go outside and do walks over like my lunch break or after work or before work because it's just too cold or snowy um, or I'm just too busy. So by having a walking pad here, I can then, maybe I can read or write or edit while I'm walking, maybe do a little bit of work while I'm walking, um, which I hope will help me kind of start to achieve some of the exercise and like walking goals that I had also in 2025, but I'm kind of pushing forward in 2026 with the Conquer Challenge. The only other one that I'm kind of like iffy on if I actually will complete is the meal prepping. Uh, I would love to try out like those super cube like Lego meals. I do something with my kids called Choose Your Own Adventure Night, where they get to kind of pick what they eat for dinner. I usually do it after a couple nights where we have some leftovers, and I always keep on hand makings for like nuggets and sandwiches and things like that. But the goal is for them to be like, okay, here's what's in the fridge, here's what you can choose from, pick what you want, make your own food. Um, and I thought that the kind of build your own meal based off of frozen meals that we already have prepped would be really cool to kind of add some additional options into those nights. I don't have any of the stuff yet, and I also don't necessarily have meals that I know will freeze well or have frozen, um, or have like a backlog of like prep food freezer meal type of dishes. So, maybe the first half of this year will be just kind of figuring those out, figure out what we recipes we prefer and what freezes well, and start picking up some of those cube. Um, the ones I'm talking about. I'm sure you've seen them. So, overall, those are my personal goals. Yes, the list is actually longer than any of the other goals, but I have them because they're over the course of the year and I'm really doing it by quarter. They don't feel overwhelming, which is the point. The whole point of all of this is to ensure that I am not burning myself out.
Okay, these spreads are basically done. I will probably color everything except the books in on this. But I might do that like over the course of the next couple months. I'm not gonna try to like color all of it in right now. But I did at least get everything outlined and ready to color in. So when I kind of feel like coloring, um, I have some to do. All right, but each of these little books corresponds actually to a line item over here. So there's 50 books, 50 lines. That is the reading goal I set myself this year. I added a way to track the title. If I DNF'd it, if it ended up in my top 25, because at the end of the year, I'm actually going to take my top 25 and like rank them to find my favorite read. If it was a book club recommendation, because my friends and I actually started a book club this year, and then the star rating I'm giving it. I also left some space down here for extras in case I actually go over my 50 book goal. I ended up reading 53 ish books for 2025. I was not the best at keeping track of what I read in the beginning of the year, so that's why I said 53 ish. Um, and everything will also be tracked in my Storygraph account as well. Um, all right, so now we're actually into the January spread. I will go back over what I'm doing here after I get everything done so you can actually see it. But basically this side is going to be the highlight of the day for each day of the month. I have a little box down here for favorites where I'm going to try to track like my favorite foods or my favorite drinks or favorite TV show I watched, specific to what I did in January. Over here will be a space for goals, a habit tracker, and then a little notes column, also the key for the habit tracker over here. Right now I have just drink water and a steps goal. My steps have absolutely been lacking since I ended up being fully remote back in October, and I'm going to try to up this significantly. To help do that, I actually do have a treadmill coming, like a walking pad, so that way I can work and walk at the same time. So I haven't quite decided what the actual steps goal will be because I haven't done a ton lately. I'm thinking I'm going to aim for 10,000 because that's kind of like the recommended like healthy step count. What I might just do is leave it a steps goal, see how many I actually walk throughout January. And as long as I'm getting more than like 3,000, I'll mark it off. And then for February, incrementally increase it. And then we'll be into, I want to put the tab here. I think I do. This is the first spread, or this is the first part of January. So I think the tab's going to go on this page, and so I'll carry that through. So basically once we get to the end of January, this will be the February spread, and the tab will go here. And then I'll try to cascade them down as best I can. I'm not going to say I'm going to get this perfect, but I am going to do the tab first, because then if I cover it with something like a sticker, I won't have to worry. All right, so I want the pretty side facing forward. Yeah, that's right, you can't actually see it on the back here. Well, it's not perfect, but maybe I'll color in the spots I just messed up a little bit on, or cut them so it's lined up.
Okay, so as I move into the January spread, I am now getting to the third and final bucket, which is my writing and publishing goals. Now, I will be going into more in depth in the other planner I am creating, specifically around the publishing goals for Project Anthem and the writing and editing goals for that particular book. These ones are going to be a bit more overarching, high level, however you want to describe it, that may or may not relate to Project Anthem. So let's talk about my 2026 writing goals. So obviously the first one is publish my book. I finished the first draft. I will hopefully have edits done by the end of the first quarter. And my goal is to have that ready to publish by the end of the year. My second and third bullets kind of go together, and that's write the first draft of the second book or the first draft of a different series during Novel November. If I can do both this year, maybe I end up writing the first draft of the second book over the course of the year and then end up in Novel November doing something different. Great. If not, my plan is to tackle the second book first draft in November. I also, and what I'm doing for the daily planner is all the goals related to publishing and writing and editing. I am going to move everything I want to accomplish within that cycle that covers that month into this planner. So, January's goals may have obviously 4 videos It'll have, edit maybe chapters, 2 through 5. That's kind of how I'm using this spread. Also, if you've already noticed right here where I messed up, good for you, because I ended up having to cover it with a sticker. And overall, and I'll get into this in a minute, this planner is meant to help me, not to hinder me. I am not going to say I'm going to be perfect at using this. And that's okay, because little steps help and little steps make bigger things easier to accomplish.
Okay, January spread for the month is done. I need to find better glue. Couple things, takeaways. I don't like the gray. Should have done this color. I'm worried I'm not going to be able to read the things I write on these gray lines now. But it is what it is. We can always take that. We can see how it works and take that in over to February's. So now that you can actually see how I laid this out, we've got the highlight of the day, our favorites. This will be, I will fill this part out probably at the end of the month. Over here, we'll list out our goals. This is a little habit tracker. I did leave myself some extra spaces. Oh, I do need to pick out I forgot to pick out the colors for these. One moment, please. We're gonna do blue for water, because why not? We can do brown for steps. And you know what? We'll do this cool red for reading. And basically what I'll do is each day I complete something, I'll just add a colorful little square, and we'll see how many things I actually do for that day. And then I have a nice little note section. All right, so now on to the actual calendar spread. Honestly, this is not going to be like super, there's not going to be super much on here. What I am going to do is, because I am doing cyclic planning for the Project Anthem stuff, I am going to put on Mondays, actually, the start of each new week for each quarter, for each cycle. So that way I can kind of keep track as I'm doing these monthly reviews, kind of where stuff fell, and it'll help me as I'm transferring stuff between planners, because I'm doing a different planning method than the normal monthly one. This is also probably going to be pretty plain. I'm not doing too much on here. We'll have a little note section. I might end up using this for grocery lists or important events, or just whatever I need to write over here. Haven't quite figured out that yet. All right, let's get this done so we can move on to the next part.
The other option I was considering for that notes column is actually books I've read. I really don't have a space to track that in here. So I might use that for that, or maybe tracking, how many miles I walked in January, things like that. Again, I am using the first quarter to kind of test some of these layouts out and figure out what is actually going to work the best for me for the purpose of this planner. And that is, I want this to be able to track all the things that at the end of the year, I want statistics on. It's like how many steps I took, how many miles I walked, how many challenges I completed, how many books I read, how many videos I put, all of that stuff I want to be able to pull together at the end of the year and actually kind of see my life in statistics almost. So that might be a good spot for extra tracking if that's what I end up doing with it. I also think next time I might just get the dated planner because, yeah, I could have set this up cyclical, but I actually wanted it as a monthly overview. And so I just ended up spending extra time writing in stuff that like I could have bought the dated planner and had done for me. Again, notes for next time.
January month overview. Not really doing much with it. Got everything. I have to erase this. Got everything put down in here, well, at least as far as just the basic dates. So for the weekly spreads, and I'm not gonna do this for all of them on camera. I just wanted one to show. Basically, what I did is I got this cool little stamper dude that has the dates, and it also has like the weather patterns and some other like little symbols. I'm probably not going to use the other symbols, but I thought it was kind of cool to maybe put the pattern, like the weather for the day, next to the date. So like we got snow. It was super windy these days, cloudy. We'll see if I continue that. I am going to at least do it the month of January. It's probably going to be very repetitive because I live in a place where it's overcast and snowing 90% of winter. And then what I'm going to do with these daily spreads is basically each night I'm going to write out my tasks for the next day. And then I have like a notes column if I need to put anything in here to like carry over for the week, or likely what I'll do is probably start using this notes column as like my grocery to get list. As I start running out of stuff, I am going to try to start meal prepping more. And as I start running out of stuff and need to get stuff, put that in here, or maybe have all my meals for the week over here. I'm not sure yet. That's going to kind of be we'll get to that as we get to that. And then in the bottom corner here, I'll carry this through, but basically this is the day of the week for that quarter cycle week breakdown. So that way when I am transferring stuff over between planners, I don't have to worry about trying to remember which date corresponds to which cycle week. The cycle weeks also will have the corresponding like month calendar date too. This is probably a little overkill, but I'd much rather have it everywhere than not have it when I need it. But that is my personal planner. I'll do a quick flip through of all of the pages. This video is definitely going to be too long to actually do planning. So that'll be a separate video. I'll walk through at least some of my goals and some of how I'm filling this out. I'm going to just do that once for each month probably. And then I won't be showing you guys after that because I am going to put my personal stuff in here as well, like birthdays of people I'm close to and things like that. So once you see it, you'll probably never see it again. All right, so remind you of the beautiful cover, my awesome 10 out of 10 Legends and Lattes, which also coincidentally works as a really nice holder for this so I don't completely like crease up this leather. Alrighty. So we've got I'm a damsel, I'm in distress, I can handle this, have a nice day, 2026 planner. Then we have our year overview. Then we have our year in pixels for planner progress and keeping track of how often we're actually working in our planner. Our content tracker, our book tracker, and awesome coloring sheet. frankly, I think this spread is my favorite. I am so in love with this, and I completely forgot to erase that. Look at me forgetting things. Who would have thunk it? Yeah, this is definitely my favorite spread. I'm so excited to color this. Then we've got our January. Super excited to get into planning for January. I am going to kind of, I'll go back through and showcase how I'm using everything later when we actually go through and fill out goals. And then we have our January month overview. And then we get into the weekly spreads. So what I am going to probably do, just to kind of make my life a little easier, this is our next. My light just died. Okay, well, actually, I'm not. I'm just gonna wrap this up. And with that, my personal planner is as done as it can be right now. I'm so excited to use this. I'm gonna end it on my absolute favorite layout here. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching me put this together and talk a little bit about my 2025 and 2026 goals. The next video you see with this planner will be going through and starting to populate some information. I'll walk through how I'm kind of using some of the different spreads and trackers as it relates to the goals I've set for January. What are your guys' goals for January? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it to the end of this video, because I know it's going to be a long one, let me know which little icon in this little bookcase is your favorite. Do you prefer daggers? Are you a kitty person? Do you love ambiance of candles? Did you spot the cool little book nook up in here when I was drawing this out? So with that, I will see you all in the next one. Toodaloo.